Alright kids, in this video we're going to talk about vertical shifting of sinusoidal graphs. So to make sure we're on the same page, sinusoidal graphs are graphs of sine and cosine. And vertical shifts are basically the graph not stretching or shrinking horizontally, not an amplitude where it's stretching vertically, but actually physically shifting up the entire graph. It's not changing its shape, it's just sliding upward. That's a vertical shift. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the problem. Now here's a graph of sine of x. Now if I want to graph the sine of x plus 3, all you're doing is you're taking this graph and moving it up 3 places. The best way to do that is to take those 5 points we discussed and just move them up 3. So here are your 5 points that we discussed, all the zeros, maximums, and minimums. I'm just going to take them all. It's more than 5, it's 9, but there's 2 cycles. And I'm going to move them all up 3. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3. And then this one up 3, 3, 3, 3. And that is a vertical shift. Okay? So you see the shape, the look of the graph didn't change. It just went up 3. Now here's another way to look at this, and this is really kind of important. When we sketch the graph of sine, we use the x-axis as a reference point. In other words, we knew that on the x-axis, the graph of the regular old sine started at 0, 0. And then we use the midpoint and the endpoint, which is also on the x-axis. Here, when you graph sine of x, that x-axis has not moved at all. However, when we graph sine of x plus 3, it's almost as if the x-axis went up 3. So the way you're going to think about it is when you look at y is equal to a times the sine of bx plus c on the outside of the parentheses, c, the number c, is the equation of the midline. In this case, the midline is y is equal to 0. If I wanted to graph sine of x plus 3, I'm just taking that midline and I'm moving it up 3. So this is the value of y is equal to c. Whatever number that happens to be, you can draw a horizontal line at y equals to that number and sketch the graph of sine using that. It helps a little bit. It's just a visual aid. It's not a big deal. But this is called the midline. Okay? Okay, now let's go ahead and have you try one. All right, go ahead and give that one a shot. Pause the video, sketch it nicely, take your time, and then I'll go ahead and show you what it should look like, and I'll discuss it with you. All right? Okay, so here's what it should look like. Now, you'll notice that the midline was, for cosine of x, y is equal to 0. That's what we always start with. Now the midline is y is equal to negative 3. So the first thing I did is I set my midline, I drew a midline at negative 3. Then I looked and I said, okay, usually for the graph of cosine, I would start here at 1. This one's got an amplitude of 2. So for the regular graph of cosine here with an amplitude of 2, I would start at 2. Only now I'm going down 3. So I took my midline and I went up 2, or you could think about it as going from the regular graph going down 3. However you want to do this, however you're comfortable, it's up to you. You can use the midline as your x-axis and go up 2, or you can go to the graph without a vertical shift and just drop all the points down 3. So I'm going to start here at 2, do it a little differently. I'm using my midline. Then I know the graph is 2 pi long, so I'm going to finish it over here. Let me do a different color. I'm going to finish it over here. I sketched my midline. I know that in the middle I'm going down 2. And I know that at my quarters I've got my zeros. And that is how I can just sketch this graph nicely. Now, the graph here, again, look at it. There's your zeros, and I went down 3. Zeros from the regular graph, down 3. Any way you want to do it. Okay, I like the midline. It's kind of a nice way to visualize it. Okay? That's about it. It's a pretty straightforward video. Not much going on here, just lifting and dropping graphs. Okay? Let me give you one to do. Now, this one I want to see in your notebooks. I want it to look so pretty that I'm going to tell you in class to take it home and show it to your mom and have her put it on the fridge. So draw a nice set of axes, use graph paper, and sketch it as nicely as you can. When I walk around, I want to see it. All right? Have a great day, everybody.